Hello, everyone. This is Michael Gummel from Paradigm Technology Consulting. Thank you for joining us for our weekly webinar here, or our monthly webinar. This month, we have folks from ThreatLocker to talk to us about cybersecurity and how ThreatLocker can assist in that, as well as take it beyond just cybersecurity and working with making sure that your own employees have access to only what they're supposed to have access to and things like that. So I don't want to take too much of their thunder away, but at this time I will go ahead. Well, not yet. Before I do that, a couple housekeeping notes here. This is being recorded, so please note that. Also, we are offering CP credits, so I will have a couple of polling questions as we go through here. If you do want CP credits, you will need to answer all of the polling questions as we go through. And in fact, why don't we go ahead and just start off with one of the polling questions here, if I can find it. Where are my... go apps and polls. All right, for some reason that's not going to happen there. All right, so let's do it this way. We'll do Q&A here. So this will be a yes or no question. Have you heard of Locker? Yes. So if everyone could go ahead and just answer that question there in the Q&A. And just so you know, everyone, all the attendees are in listen-only mode. So if you do have any questions, please use the chat area for the questions. We'll use the Q&A for to post our questions there. So, all right. So with all of that, I will now go ahead. Today with us, we have Eugene and Anthony from ThreatLocker. So I will go ahead and turn it over to them.
All right. Welcome, everybody. So my name is Eugene. I am a solutions engineer at ThreatLocker. So I've been working with Paradigm and the team on implementing and really enforcing best practices when it comes to security for their customers and potentially you guys. So today what we're going to do is we're going to go through a demonstration of the product to show you who we are, what we do, how we handle security, and how we can enforce zero trust best practices and ensure that you guys are only running what you need for your day-to-day operations. So with that being said, let me go ahead and share my screen and we can get started. Let me pull this up here. I don't use Teams very often, so let me figure this out. So I think this should be good.
Yep, we can see your screen there.
And to confirm, you can see my ThreatLocker portal with the two machines.
Yes.
Good. All right, so at the core of what we do, we are a zero trust endpoint security platform. And our goal is to control what can or cannot run. This means that if ransomware or malware or spyware, if anything new tries to run in your environment, whether good or bad, it's going to be denied by default. Now, in order for us to control, we first need to learn and understand your environment. So what we do across all of your machines, your desktops, your laptops, your Macs, your servers, your VMs, is we place those machines into what we call learning mode. We're also going to initiate a baseline. So we're going to baseline your environment. We're going to identify pretty much everything that's running on the machines. Applications, files, hashes, processes, drivers, DLLs, dependencies, and we're going to start to build the applications, build the policies. We're going to start to build the allow list. Now to see the allow list, that's located under modules within application control. We will give you a list of all the applications that we found. So you can see the application name, the type of software, its rating, what it potentially has access to, in addition to where it's coming from. We also have policies. Policies tells the applications what to do. So we have a hierarchy in how policies are applied. So these policies can be applied to the entire organization, individual groups, and individual computers. So we can get quite granular with how these policies are assigned. Today, we're going to focus primarily on the workstations. And what we're looking at here are the policies applied at the workstation level. So any computer in this particular group can now run these policies and applications. And these are here because we found these running on your machines during that learning process, as well as the baseline. Now, what separates us from any other allow listing vendors, what makes your lives easier in terms of management, are what we call built-in applications. The built-ins are the ones that we manage for you. So when an application comes out with an update or a patch or change in hash or whatever the case is, we're going to manage and update those definitions on the back end. We have an applications team here in Orlando, Florida, here at HQ. Our team, their job is to really update the apps on the back end for our customers. So our team works with the vendors send us the files, we update and validate those definitions on the back end. So you or your team or your users don't have to run into any unnecessary denies. If an application matches the built-in, we're essentially going to cover it for you. We're doing this for over 4,000 applications. This includes typical apps, browser extensions, driver packages, Apple and Windows updates. So we handle all the billions and trillions of files that these vendors are pushing out. Now, I'm sure you guys probably have developers and non-built-in applications, maybe custom apps. That's fine too. We can create custom rules to automate and future-proof for updates. The goal here really is to ensure that your trusted applications runs as normal. We're not going to block your trusted software. If it's on the allow list, it's going to be allowed. Anything new would be considered a new request. With this, we also give access to the logs. So you guys can have access to your environment to see exactly what is running. All the permits, all the denies, all the applications, all the files, all the network traffic inbound and out, in addition to the executions, the installations. You guys can also see reads, writes, move, deletes of your files and applications. So you guys will have full visibility and full control over your environment. Now, like I mentioned, the goal is to ensure that your trusted software runs as normal. So we would actually use the unified audit to ensure that we've added our policies and our adjustments and rules before we start to enforce our policies. So myself and the Paradigm team, we're going to work together. We're going to review the audit logs. We're going to create rules and exceptions. So when we do finally secure the endpoints, we've already addressed everything that needs to be addressed. So for example, at the computer level, I see my machines are secured. What this means is that we're now enforcing our policies. So if anything new tries to run, it's going to be blocked. So again, if ransomware, malware, spyware, if the user downloads a new program or a browser extension or a game, those files are going to be denied if it's not on the allow list. And this is how we stop attacks such as 0 days. Just by blocking the application means that it can't run. We're not waiting for a new 0 day to happen. We're going to stop those attacks as they happen. Now, to show you an example, I'm going to run and execute TeamViewer. When we do this, we get blocked. We're getting blocked not because we're saying that TeamViewer is bad, but because it's not on the allow list. But the user has the option to request. So this is what your users will see. They'll get this pop-up. They can request access. They can include a reasoning so they can explain their business use case and they can explain why they need this application. We will give them more information on the app, the file name, the type of software, what it potentially has access to, and where it's coming from. We can submit the request. That request will then populate in the response center as a ticket, and this is where Paradigm comes into play, or whoever is managing this. So you guys are the techs, whoever is managing this will receive the notification and will receive the ticket or the request. And from here, we'll give you all the information, the path, the process, the hash, the certificate. We know that this is part of TeamViewer. And if we didn't know what TeamViewer was, we do have an integration with VirusTotal. So we can see exactly if the file's been marked as malicious. We also have a sandbox. So before releasing a file into the environment, we want to validate that file. We want to ensure that the file is not malicious. Whether it's a script or an application or a batch file or whatever the case is, we can run and test that against our testing environment. The testing environment is something that ThreatLocker manages. This is not associated to your network, your domain, your production machine, so you don't have to worry about this bleeding into your environment. Now, for this example, We're going to run the application, and we're going to proceed with the setup and installation just like we typically would. The difference here is our risk center. So here at the top, we have a hit and virus total. Notice when I ran that initial file in virus total, it only scanned the executable. But once it executed and spawned these DLLs, Signet marked this file as malicious. And just because virus total says it's bad doesn't mean it's bad. The goal here really is to provide us with more information. We can see canary files. We have like a honeypot essentially of financial information. So if it's touching the data in the sandbox, it'll most likely touch the data on your network. We can see system level changes, network connectivity, registry access, and all the new files that were spawned during this particular execution. The goal here for me is to slow things down so your technicians can see exactly what the user is trying to run, what the application is and what it's trying to do, and ultimately give you guys the control on determining if it's actually needed or not. Now, for something like this, we actually didn't really need to run it in the sandbox. The reason being is because we have a built-in for this application. So again, anytime you see a built-in, it's legit, it's coming from the vendor, we'll manage it for you. This is really useful for applications that are not built in. But again, it is something that techs will have access to. These policies can be applied to different groups and levels. We can create expirations and schedules on these policies. We can also elevate this to run as a local administrator. One big problem that's been around for a very, very long time is giving our users admin access. And generally, we give them access because they just need to install software. But the issue is that if the credentials are compromised, an attacker could have access to the machine and do things as an administrator on their behalf, which is obviously not good. They can execute services, processes, they can probably run commands, run applications as an admin, they can install software and backdoors. We want to avoid that. So we have a tool called Elevation. This is a PAM tool, PAM meaning Privilege Access Management. And this allows you guys to do two primary things rather. One, remove admin rights from your users, and two, stops your techs from having to remote in and provide credentials to install for application updates. If a user needs to run something new, let them get blocked, let them justify their reasoning, let them submit a request, the administrator will review it and can build a policy to allow that specific application to run as admin. We're not going to elevate the entire system. We're only going to elevate the applications or parts of the applications that specifically require them to run as an administrator. We do run at the kernel level. We are a kernel-based product, so that does allow us to bypass UAC and Windows permissions. This also means that no user, no system, no attacker, no process can delete or disable ThreatLocker because we're running as a service. Now, for this example, we don't need elevation, so we'll just go ahead and approve. And what we've done is we've now built a policy at the workstation level, allowing TeamViewer. We've permitted it. The user that requested this will get an email and a pop-up here shortly stating that the application has been allowed, and we'll be able to then run the application as we typically would. And here's that pop-up now. So we run the application, and we can now proceed with the setup installation because now it's on the allow list. Now, we also have a tool called ring fencing. Ring fencing to me is probably my favorite product that we offer, my favorite feature. This is essentially a firewall for your applications. Yes, we allow your applications to run, but we want to put restrictions as to what they can or cannot interact with. So we can block things like application hopping, file access, registry access, unwanted internet access, or outbound internet access. So for example, Office, we use Office. Office is an application that we used, but it's commonly attacked, it's used maliciously, attackers can exploit it. So to show an example, I have an internal bulletin. We see that is coming from IT. We have a link here that's going to take us to office.com to reset our password. And if we hover over the link, this will run and execute PowerShell. Now, this example is very common and quite simple, but these are the kind of things that users tend to click on. So it doesn't matter if they get phished or click on a bad link through, Office, Outlook, email, Gmail, the browsers. If they were to click on something bad and it were to execute PowerShell or any other kind of command or file, ThreatLocker will come in and block that action. And we're blocking not because we're saying that, PowerShell is bad or Office is bad, but because we don't need Office to interact with PowerShell. So yes, we allow these applications to run. We just want to put limits as to what they can or cannot interact with while running. And what we do is out of the box is we build these like default templated policies. So out of the box, we have you covered for your browsers, Office, PowerShell, Zoom, Command Prompt, Principal Service, WScript, and all these other applications and processes and tools that are commonly used in attack. We've already built these pre-templated policies for you. So you don't have to worry about, you or your MSP having to create them for you. They're going to be applied out of the box when we create your account. Now, to show you an example or what we've done here. So what we've done is we've essentially allowed Office to run, but we're blocking it from interacting with Command Prompt, CScript, Register, and for this example, PowerShell. A lot of the times, these are the applications that are using attacks. So we want to lock down the most dangerous parts of the OS and the applications that you guys are probably running. Now, we would also put restrictions on PowerShell and all these tools as well, because we know that these tools are used maliciously. So what we've done with PowerShell is we've allowed PowerShell to run, but we're blocking it from interacting with BitLocker, so it can't encrypt your data. We can block it from your browsers and any other tool that you would like. We're also going to block PowerShell from interacting with your files, because in most scenarios, PowerShell does not need access to your data. But if it does, we can add the paths, the folders, the files, the file types as an exception. But we don't want to give something like PowerShell full-blown access to the entire system. We can block the registry. We can also block outbound internet access. So yes, PowerShell can run, but it can only interact with the IPs and the domains and the modules, and the services that you guys are legitimately using for day-to-day operations. If you're reaching outbound to an unknown domain or command and control server to pull down a payload or do something unwanted, those actions are going to be denied. Now, to show you an example, I'm going to run this command. This command is going to run PowerShell out of Command Prompt. It's going to sweep my documents folder and upload my data to Google Drive. It's essentially stealing my files at the end of the day. So if we let this run, your data is now potentially exposed. And this can stem from a number of different ways. It can run through a script. User could have clicked on something. A user could have also plugged in like a USB drive that's emulating a keyboard. That's quite common. Some people call it a rubber ducky. There's a few different ways on how this can be executed. But again, we're blocking PowerShell from interacting with our data. So in my blocked items log, we can see everything being denied. Here we can see PowerShell running. And remember, we don't block PowerShell because PowerShell is good, but we want to put restrictions as to what PowerShell can do. So when PowerShell tried to access my documents folder and my data, those actions are going to be blocked and ring-fenced. So yes, we're allowing a particular application to run, but we're blocking a particular action in the scenario, PowerShell trying to steal my files, essentially. We also have a network tool. So we spoke on ring fencing, which is a firewall for the application. This is a firewall for the endpoint. So this allows you guys to control inbound and outbound network traffic. So if you want to, totally block all ports or IPs, you have that option. So essentially what we do is whenever you guys are ready to enforce network control, we would turn the product on, it would go into a monitoring state, and we would start logging the domains, the IPs, the ports, the connections that are connecting to and from your devices. And with that information, we can open and close any port. If you want to totally block all inbound traffic on the workstations, you have that ability. If you want to put restrictions on SMB traffic, SSH, RDP, you can do that. Any external facing server we can protect. We can essentially make it to where any computer that is not running ThreatLocker cannot connect to your devices. So if an outside source, if an IoT device, if a rogue device tries to connect to a server, for example, that'll be blocked at the network level. We also can block outbound traffic, like I mentioned. So on my desktop, I have a policy to block websites. So we're blocking Facebook and TikTok, essentially. So if we were to navigate to facebook.com, you will see that that gets denied. So these are things that you guys can do if you want to put some restrictions on it. We don't really consider ourselves as like a DNS provider, a DNS kind of filter, but we can create DNS-like, filters through the network control piece. Storage control, this allows you guys to control who and what has access to your data. Anything that sits on a local drive, network share, USB drive, DVD drive can be seen, can be controlled by us. So for example, if you guys have shares, we can put restrictions on it. So for this example, I have a public share, and we're only allowing these applications to touch the data on that public share. So in my public share, I can see that it's all Office files. So we're only going to allow Office applications to run. So if any of these files were to execute out of Notepad, that gets blocked. And it's not that we're saying that Notepad is bad, it's just not on the list. So we're not going to allow it. The same can be done for maybe a backup share. Here we can see the policy that's pointed to this backup drive, but we're only allowing Veeam as my backup server application to touch my data. So if ransomware is running on my machines, your backups are still protected because we're not allowing the programs that aren't listed here. We're only allowing Veeam for this example to touch those files. We can put monitoring in place for cloud services, OneDrive, Google Drive, Box, if you guys are caching locally, so you can see kind of that data, see what your users are doing. This is helpful if you have any lost files. I know it used to be quite common for me to get requests on, hey, I lost this file. Can you find it? You can use this tool to kind of do that. We can stop your users from transferring data from a specific share or folder to the internet. We can also put restrictions on USB drives as well. So if you guys want to, permit them, block them, we can get quite granular with how these policies are applied. We have a lot of different options here.
Eugene, let me go ahead and post another Q&A here. So again, if you can go over to the Q&A there, just asking if you are responsible for cyber or user security within your organization. So again, if you do want CPE credits, you do need to answer all of the questions as we go through here. So with that, I'll turn it right back over to you again. Thank you.
All right, cool. All right, so configuration manager. A lot of what you do through local and group policy will be done through these products, through this product. So for example, we have these pre-built configurations that we've created for you. So we can apply these zero-day CVE policies. We can put policies in place for Windows Defender. Account management, so we can manage passwords, password complexity. We can disable guest accounts. We can apply policies to control keyloggers, universal plug and play, auto run, logon messages, and all this stuff here without having to rely on GPOs. Also, the remote laptops that are not domain joined will still apply and inherit these policies because everything is tied back to the ThreatLocker agent. Again, we're not tied to your network. We're not tied to Active Directory or your domain or anything like that. As long as these machines have internet access, they'll be able to pull any new policies that are assigned to it. All right, so everything that we spoke on to this point has been on the control side of things. Application control, ring fencing, privilege access management, network, data protection, and configuration manager. We also have a EDR. We call it ThreatLocker Detect. This is going to be your policy-based detection and automated response tool. So with the information, with the data, with the telemetry that we collect, we can alert and take action on applications that are running, file access, network traffic, Windows event logs, indicators of compromise. ThreatLocker comes in when good behaviors go bad. Now, what separates us from a traditional EDR is that EDRs make decisions on your behalf, which in turn create false positives. So this allows you guys to essentially curate and create the policies for the things that you actually care about. Now, again, we'll be working with Paradigm and the team on identifying these things. We will manage this for you. We'll make sure that everything is set up properly and that we're alerting on you guys actually care about. So we can create alerting on applications that are running, file size transfers, user stealing data, someone elevating PowerShell, specific applications and tools that are running. So if we catch an IP scanner tool or remote access tool or games running, if the event logs are cleared or tampered with, living off the land attack. So that example with Word reaching out to PowerShell, we're going to be alerted, or your team is going to be alerted when those actions occur. This also works in conjunction to what we call ThreatLocker community. So here we have our predefined, pre-templated policies that we've created for you. So instead of having to go in and reinvent the wheel, you can create these rules or assign these rules to your organization. And you can also kind of use this as your own template. So you can kind of go through this and assign some of the most popular or highest rated policies that other customers are probably using as well. Now to show you an example, we're going to trigger this IP scanner. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, let's say we download an IP scanner tool. Maybe we're an attacker. Let's say we're an attacker on the machine and we want to see what ports are open. So we'd run the IP scanner. And with our controls, we get blocked because, again, advanced IP scanner is not on the allowed list. So this user, this person has two options. They can either ignore it and move on, or they can request access. It's not unheard of for an attacker to request access. It's actually happened before, where they're on a compromised machine and they can't install anything, so they actually submit a request, and the MSP is like, "Whoa, hold on, this is actually malicious." Kind of funny, things happen like that, but this ensures that these files get blocked essentially. So even though it got blocked, this will actually generate an alert in our response center. But before we go to the response center, I do want to show you the policy. So essentially what we're doing is we're alerting if advanced IP scanner is running based off this condition. If this application matches, we will then generate an alert. The QR code that you're seeing here is actually coming from ThreatLocker's SOC. So with the EDR, we have a 24/7, 365 SOC monitoring for alerts on the back end. Even if you didn't have any policies created, we're monitoring based off the MITRE attack framework and other areas of compromise. So essentially what's happening is that our team receives an alert. They will look at the runbook and they'll give you a call to alert you on these actions. So let me actually answer this really quickly so you guys can see what's going on. Hello, it's Eugene. Hey, Eric, everything's good. Yeah, we're actually doing a demonstration right now to showcase the products. I will clear the alert off myself. Cool, thank you. So yeah, so our SOC team, again, our team is in Orlando. They are US based. They are US employees. They are our employees. So they receive the alert. They review it. They'll respond how you want us to respond. My runbook specifically states submit a QR code, and if I don't respond within a minute, then give me a call. This QR code actually requires a ThreatLocker admin to verify themselves. So if they were on the machine, they were doing this and it was legit, they can just kind of omit themselves for a limited amount of time. But if it was an attacker, obviously they won't have access to ThreatLocker. So we would just call, your escalation, your point of contact, to ensure that the actions that are taking place are legit. And if not, we can work with you guys on providing resolution steps. Now, I did mention that we will create an alert. There will be an alert here in the response center. So here within my threat tab, I can see at this time on this machine, advanced IP scanner was executed. So you guys can see all the alerts that are happening on this particular computer. We can see the alerts, the action logs, the action type, the path, the process, all the information around the file. We give you the executions, the installations. We can also filter by known threats and all executions and installations. We can see baseline traffic, network connectivity, and we can also take action. We can isolate and lock down computers. This can be automated or manual. Isolate removes from the network while leaving an open connection for ThreatLocker, whereas lockdown removes from the network and also blocks it from reading and writing any other application. It will essentially brick the machine if the events are severe enough. That covers detect. That covers ThreatLocker. Does anyone have any questions for me?
So let's see. I'm not seeing any in the chat right now. But again, if you do have any questions, please put those into the chat. I will go ahead and put another Q&A out there so we can get the for the CP credits. So so again, if we can go ahead and answer that Q&A. Gene, do you have anything else you wanted to go over, or are we just looking for Q&A now?
I think we're looking for Q&A at this point.
Okay.
I think that kind of covers everything with ThreatLocker. One thing I do want to mention, I kind of mentioned it earlier. So our support is 24/7, 365. Our response time is 60 seconds or less as well. This is something that is not common in this industry, unfortunately. So if you guys are having issues, if you guys have questions, if there are things going on, our team is always there for you. Again, 24/7, 365. I'm also Paradigm's dedicated engineer. So I've been working with the team. I help with the implementation and the deployments and the configurations and really making sure that everything is set up properly for their customers.
Right. Looks like we did have a question come in. So is this an agent that runs on every device? And if so, how resource heavy is it?
So yes, it is an agent that runs on every device. So ThreatLocker would be deployed to all of your computers. In terms of resource utilization, you're looking at 1% CPU and 200 to 600 megabytes of RAM. Remember, we are not an antivirus. We're not actively scanning your files, so that allows our resources to be quite minimal for a security tool.
Okay. Looks like we got another question coming in. Just waiting for it to finish up here. So I think you covered this, but is this an on-prem solution or a cloud-based solution?
This is a cloud-based solution, so there's no on-prem equipment required.
Okay.
And our services, our data centers are US-based as well. And we can be we are ITAR compliant as well. So we can ensure that your instance can only reside in the States, and that any non-US citizens within ThreatLocker cannot touch your account.
Okay. And then I think I got another one coming in here. Okay. What kind of reporting do you offer?
So we have two sets of reports, well, three really. So you have the unified audit, which shows you all of your audit logs. We also have CAN reports that are broken out between different categories. So you can see things like, applications that are running, user access, reads, writes, move, deletes, USB activity. You can see productivity reports, policies that are running. There's a lot that you guys can kind of see here. We also have the health center. So we have a health report. So this will give you guys a full look into your environment as an executive summary. For some reason, the formatting is not working properly on my end. But this will show you pretty much everything that's running in your environment, in addition to the applications and where they're coming from. We also have our recommendations listed here, so you guys can kind of start cleaning some things up. So if we see any log4j files, or if we see games or IP scanner tools, or maybe something with a high risk, you'll see that here. This is also something that's easily digestible for non-technical
I think
people
you
as well.
stopped sharing your screen there, Eugene.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here we go. Yeah. So this is the report. Like I said, the formatting is kind of weird right now. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, you guys will have that access.
Okay. Any other questions out there from any of the attendees? You know, Anthony's on mute, but I don't know if he had anything that he wanted to chime in with.
Sorry, no, yeah. I'm the account manager here, so basically I'm a liaison for Paradigm, and basically any questions that they have, anything non-technical, they utilize me as a resource. So I'll be the point of contact for Paradigm, and then if anything that I cannot answer or get an answer, I'll make sure I do. So I'm surrounded by a bunch of smart people, so we'll definitely get the answer for you if there's any questions that do come in about ThreatLocker. So thank you.
Very good, thank you. Now, Eugene, I got looks like another one that came in, and I think you may have covered this one as well. But again, just to confirm, can you block browser extensions?
Yes, we can. So browser extensions have been something that has been a lot of concern lately. Unfortunately, browser extensions, over 60% of browser extensions, due to some recent studies, have the ability to access your data and your passwords. So it's really important that we do block browser extensions. There's not too many tools out there that can, but luckily we can. And since we have the built-ins, we have a ton of browser extensions on our built-in list. So chances are, if you guys do allow browser extensions, ThreatLocker will manage it for you.
All right, very good. So it looks like we're getting ready to wrap up here. Just again, any final thoughts, questions, comments? We'll put one more Q&A out there to make sure that we are following all of our rules. And I apologize for using the Q&A today. Usually I use polls, and I set polls up for this, and for some reason it did not attach to this webinar, but we can make deal with it. So again, if you can go ahead and rate that again. I know one of the polling question, or one of the questions I set out there was if you'd like to get additional information on ThreatLocker. So again, if you do want some, please let us know. You know, if you're not interested in information right now, but maybe, you know, come the fall or something like that, if you want to get some additional information about it and have some further discussions, please let us know there. We can do that as well. And again, this recording was, or this webinar was recorded. So if we'll send out the links to this later on. You can always go out to our YouTube page. Just look up Paradigm Technology Consulting, and you can see all of our past webinars there. This one will be up there in the next day or so after Jason goes through and cleans it up for me. And then you can always review that. And then again, if you do have any other questions after reviewing it, please feel free to reach out to us. Those of you on the that are viewing this who have worked with our infrastructure staff, you're probably very familiar with John Henbest, who's our president of PTC. He heads up our infrastructure side of the business, so he would probably be one of the main contacts along this lines here for ThreatLocker. But again, you can always reach out to sales@ptcsolutions.com. or you can reach out to me at mtgummel@ptsolutions.com, or just go to our website and hit the contact information there, and we can get back to you on that as well. So again, if you have any other questions or anything like that, please let us know. At this time, not seeing any other questions come in. I'll just give you one last chance here, Eugene or Anthony. Anything you want to finish up with?
No, I think I'm good. I just want to say thank you everyone for coming out today. If you have any questions, you can refer back to the Paradigm team, and we can kind of go from there. We can offer a trial or a POC into your environment, so you guys can see exactly how we work and how we operate. Even if you don't purchase the product, this is always a good educational process that allows you guys to kind of get an overall view into your environment. You can look at this as kind of like a health check to see exactly where you're at today.
Very good. All right. Well, again, go ahead, Anthony.
Oh no, I was gonna mention the free trial as well. Eugene beat me to it. So yeah, if you have any questions, reach out to Paradigm about that, and we're happy to get you all set up.
Very good. All right. Well, Eugene and Anthony, thank you for putting this together on your side. Always a very informational, or whenever we talk to you guys, we always learn something. So again, thank you for putting this on for our clients and any of our prospects who are out there viewing this. Again, anybody who has any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Go to our website at www.ptcsolutions.com. And we'll look forward to talking to you. Again, thank you everybody for coming today or whenever you are viewing this. Have a great day.
All right.